Remind me, and then I'll click
All
on record.
right, we're rolling. Okay, this is our first episode. Yes,
Let's go.
yeah,
Let's
we're
go.
getting stuck into it. Yeah.
You don't have a
So what?
drink? I've got a coffee here. You don't want a coffee? I've
I've
got a
got a tea.
bulletproof coffee. I got a
Oh,
tea.
you got a
Okay.
brew up. Yeah, yeah. This is Earl Grey.
Well, if it's Earl Grey, then it pisses all over the coffee. What can I say?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah.
man.
Well, there's a big time difference. So, welcome everybody. This is our first one. So we're going to be reviewing some movies, and today we're going to be focusing on a very classic horror movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Dude,
So to introduce, yeah,
sorry, dude. So what's the name, though? Give the people the name. What's the name of
yeah.
the,
Well,
the
I
podcast?
was, yeah, I was about to come. It was coming. It was coming.
I'm
Yes,
too
yes.
eager. I'm too eager, man.
So yes, yes. So this is the Pulpy Hideout, and we're going to be reviewing movies, TV shows, and we're going to go into some pulpy stuff as well in the later episodes. So we're going to do not just movies, but we're going to do books, comic books, and anything to do with pulp culture and we like to sort of concentrate on the earlier stuff from the 80s and sort of going back some of the 90s stuff. There we go. I'm of the 80s. That's it.
That's right. That's where
So
I'm from.
to
The 80s.
introduce you to the Pulpy Hideout. So my name is Vadim. I live in Sydney, Australia, and I'm very passionate about movies, especially horror. I love the genre, science fiction. I also enjoy history, military history, and stuff like that. But I also enjoy reading comics, anything to do with pulp culture. Um, yeah, do you want to introduce yourself there, Yanis,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what you
yeah.
do?
My name is Yanis, and I just like Vadim. I love films. I love comic books, novels. Uh, the old stuff, as I say, the classics.
Yeah,
um,
the classics.
I've got yeah, I'm a screenwriter, so made some films, short films. So I've got that background. I've done some acting as well, and yeah, me and Vadim, we like to. We've always liked to talk about these things ever since we were like 13 back in Sydney when we were both there.
Yeah,
I'm based in Athens, Greece now, and yeah, we you know sort of reunited a few years ago, and we saw that we still love to talk for hours about films and comics and all the good stuff. So this
yeah,
gave rise to the Pulpy Hideout, and
that's it.
yeah. Oh, and I just want to add very quickly that you gonna me and Vadim, we're gonna be keeping it casual. We're gonna be talking just like we talk normally. So you might hear him, him referring to me as Johnny or Johnson, and which was the name he first. I was first introduced to him back in the day in Australia. I used to be John. Now
Yeah.
I adopted my Greek name more of Yanis. I don't mind either one of them. You might hear Malakas. We both like to refer to one another as Malakas. um,
For a
Walk
bit of
Boy,
fun.
for a bit of fun.
Yes.
Keeping it Aussie. So you might hear Walk Boy. I'm the original Walk Boy. He's honorary Walk Boy, even though he's
That's it.
from and also Rasputin because of the obviously the beard and his background from.
AKA, yes.
Yeah, so don't get confused. You might hear those terms, and it's perfectly natural.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so what are we
Thanks,
doing
John. Yeah.
today? Vadim, what are we up
Yeah,
to?
well, I thought we'd kick it off and review, as I mentioned before, a very classic horror movie, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I've
Yeah, let's
asked
do it.
John because I'm a big fan of the genre, and John likes his horror as well. But I understand you're not really sort of into it. I mean, you'd watch it, but that's not your sort of main bread and butter, what you like to watch. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, I love horror like Don't Look Now, which I think we should cover one day here. The
Yeah.
Shining, more recently stuff like The Babadook. But it's not my go-to. I'm not as enthusiastic about it as you are. I love it in terms of art and filmmaking. Um, I'm not so much into the slasher genre, but I'd watch it from time to time if something good pops up. Uh, but
Hmm.
yeah, you're more of the master in this.
Hmm.
But I think our point of views that we bring to it will make for an interesting conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and this is what we wanted to do is,
Yeah.
we watched the same movie, and in this case, I've seen the movie. Well, actually, I've seen the movie multiple times, but John hasn't seen it yet. So
Well, I have
I
now,
asked him
but
to.
yeah,
Well, you have.
yeah.
Prior to that, you haven't watched it yet, and we were talking about it one day, and I think we were discussing our favorite movies in the horror genre, and I said, "Well, look, this is mine." So, I mean, it's a bit of a giveaway now, but this is mine. Why don't you watch it, and maybe we can have a discussion and record it. So that's what we're doing now.
That was
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that was the birth of the podcast right there.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so I'll kick it off. So, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in 1974. So, apparently, it was inspired by real events and had a low budget of $140,000 to make. So, despite facing censorship, it became a cult classic and influenced the horror genre. The movie's iconic Leatherface character, played by Gunnar Hansen, and its gritty, visceral approach to horror set it apart from the other horror movies during that day. Has been recognized as one of the greatest horror movies of all time. So, let me ask you the first question here, John. And like I said, for me, it was a bit of a giveaway in terms of being it's probably one in my top three favorite horror movies. Right, I wouldn't say it's exactly like number one, but it's in the top three. But let me ask you this question before we sort of dive deep into it. And obviously, there is going to be certain spoilers for the movie. It came out in 1974, so if anyone's listening, you probably should have seen it by now.
That's a good
Yeah,
point. From now on, there's going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, which you should, yeah, from
yeah.
now on, there's going to be spoilers. So you've been warned.
Yeah, exactly. So my first question to you is, John, is
Yeah, should.
what did you think of the movie overall? Would it be a thumbs up, thumbs down, or somewhere in between?
It will be two thumbs up, very enthusiastically, like two thumbs up, very enthusiastically, thumbs up. Yeah, it was a film that I'm really glad that our conversation happened and this happened. So it forced me to watch it because, I like I said, the slasher genre is not my go-to.
Yeah.
Um, but I had it always in the back of my mind because it would pop up like when I would um, do research for filmmaking, learn about filmmaking. It always pops up in those circles of films that have left a legacy.
Yep.
So. Even yeah, I always kind of it was in the back of my mind. Okay, I have to watch it because it's a very influential film, and it's in terms of filmmaking, it's an important one to watch. So I'm glad that I got to watch it, and yeah, I was very glad that I did, and
Yeah,
yeah, uh,
yeah.
yeah.
So so let
Go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, it's great to hear that it was two thumbs up for you, because that's exactly how I felt when I first saw it. And look, my background and what I like in terms of horror movies, um, slasher movies is probably one of my favorites. It's not my favorite genre. I like more of the sort of psychological horror as well. I don't really like sort of the jump scares. It's not my thing. I'll watch it, right? I'll watch it, but it's not really my thing. And I know, like modern day horror, that's where it's leaning towards is more of jump scares type thing, especially if you're watching it in the big theater and so on.
uh,
And look, I'll go along for the ride. I'll watch it, but yeah, it's not my favorite. But yeah, slasher movies is right up there for me.
yeah. I'd say definitely jump scares and also an emphasis on blood and guts and gore. Really leaning into it, which is why when I watched this, it was almost a breath of fresh air. Now I'm going
Mhm.
into it, so we might as well
Yeah,
go
yeah,
into it a little bit.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, one of the things overall that I noticed it was that it didn't need to. It was so effective without needing to be excessively gory and to show
yeah.
everything because
Well,
one
it wasn't really gory. You don't see really, from what I remember, you don't really see blood, right? There's not
very
much. There's really, well, very little blood. Yeah,
very little
yeah. There
blood.
is no
Um,
blood, especially with all the killings and
yeah,
yeah. Surprisingly, they didn't, and you didn't need to. You really
exactly,
didn't need to see
exactly.
it. Yeah,
Because
yeah,
less is more, and you know the, what happens is it triggers your imagination, which makes it scarier. You don't need to see it because then you make it up in
yeah.
your
Hmm.
head. You know,
Hmm.
it's the whole psychological aspect of it, and
Yeah,
this film does it really well. And I think remakes and the sequels and the remakes and all that stuff, then it's like many times they happen for the wrong reasons, and then it's like, oh, we're gonna lean into to more is better, more is better. Let's really go
yeah.
out there and
Well, in this franchise, to my knowledge, there is four sequels to it. So there is four movies all up, right? I mean, they were so successful with the first movie, that they started, okay, after the success of the first, they started making the second, the third, and then the fourth, and so on,
but
right? Like with any good movie. Yeah.
sorry, Vadim, if I can ask you
Yep.
here,
Yep.
because I know that Hopper, Tob Hopper did one in '86. He did a sequel that he directed himself, and then are do you include in what you said the remakes as well, or is it straight sequels, or do you
No,
include the
no,
remakes?
sorry. Yeah, yeah, no, they're not straight sequels. And I know, yeah, the second one was directed by Hooper. But yeah, and then I think the last two were actually remakes, if I'm not mistaken. I think the third one was a complete failure. Um, but then the fourth one, the last one, I believe was a remake.
Hmm. Okay. Um, yeah, it's funny. My nephews watched the remake
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
by themselves. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
had a go at them because I'm like, Why are you watching the remake for? You watch the original. Watch the original." So,
John, I think your
oh yes,
camera is frozen,
in a
mate.
very
Yeah,
good moment, I was like,
yeah.
ah.
All right. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so yeah. I'm like, screw this. Don't watch. Why are you watching remakes for? Let's watch the originals. I didn't want to watch it alone because I'm a bit of a sensitive disposition. So when it was, and they're all grown up. I'm not, when I say nephews, they're not little kids anymore. They're like
Yeah,
16 and 17, and uh, who and maybe some people would think that's a bit early to watch films like that, but our generation started watching them when we were like 11, 12. So
yeah.
that's
Well,
from our point of view, that's quite late in getting into
yeah,
it.
no, no. I got onto it late. I wish I watched it earlier, and I watched it by accident. I mean, I think I rented it at the video store at the time. Anyway, and it was in my early 20s
Really, bro,
when I first saw it.
I watched with my father back in the 80s. I must have been like 11 years old, and we were watching, and my sister, we were all watching together the original, the one with the lake. Uh,
Friday the 13th.
yeah, the
No?
first Friday the
Yeah,
13th. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and it was like a
No,
normal
no,
thing.
I know, no, I actually meant the first time I saw Texas
Yeah,
Chainsaw
right.
was in
Yeah,
my early 20s, and that movie, and I watched, yeah, look, prior to that, I watched a lot of horror movies, and I enjoyed horror movies. However, when I watched Texas Chainsaw, that just changed. I was like scared shitless, and I watched it at night, and I was in my room, and I couldn't sleep most of the night. And that was I was in my 20s, right? And
yeah,
it
dude.
just had such an effect on me that some horror movies I'll watch it, you kind of think about it for a little bit, and then you kind of put it out of your mind, but that movie stayed with me for weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man, I can
so
see why, and I
yeah,
wouldn't have watched it. Like I watched it in the afternoon, and I had people around me, so I was
yeah,
all good, all ready for it. I had prepared psychologically. Um, so
yeah.
yeah.
So what did you think of the plot?
Okay, plot. I mean, it's a very simple plot, very straightforward plot.
Yes, yeah,
It's a slow burner, which
yeah.
helps um, get you into the atmosphere. It uses because it's such a low budget. They did a really clever thing where the first half, not the second half, the first half, it's almost like a documentary. It starts off with a voiceover as well, and then it's sort of filmed very docu style, very simple, and it helps you actually feel like it's real, and it makes the terror that comes hit stronger. There's also this brilliant thing that they do this foreshadowing.
Mm,
Very nice psychological technique where they start talking casually about cows being slaughtered and what's the best way to do it. And if it's like
mm-hmm,
the hit on the head or
mm-hmm,
this other instrument, like, and it's like, okay, you're watching it like, okay, they're having this conversation, but why does this happen? It sets up the first murder when the shit hits the fan and it goes all over the place, and it's like when that happens. And I heard a lot of people feel very strongly about, very shocked about the first murder scene, and it's Inception shit, man. It's Inception. It's because they already have put the idea into us, and then we see the person as a fucking cow almost. So he gets hit right in the head like a
mm,
cow's, and he's like, so
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
brilliantly done. That was brilliantly
mm,
done. That whole setup.
yeah.
Um,
And sorry, just to keep on that point, that first kill, the
yeah,
build up to it, it was amazing. Like there was no, normally you see with a build up like this, there'll be some sort of music, scary music, not scary music, but there'd be like a sound, a music, a tone in the background. Say, for example, Jaws is a very famous movie, right? So
yeah,
before
yeah,
the first kill, you go, doo
yeah,
right? So you know it's coming. With
yeah,
that, to be honest with you, I didn't know what was like. I knew something was going to happen. He runs into the house. He opens the door, right?
Yeah,
And then you know something's going to happen, but there's no build up. There's no music build up. All you see suddenly is that door just opens. He hits him over the head and drags him in,
and
right?
then he shuts the
And
door,
there's
right?
and
He
then he
just
shuts the door, and
shuts
there's
the door.
really no background music,
Yeah,
nothing, right? It's like it's happening kind of for real, you know? Well,
yeah. See, that's what I mean about the whole
it's got that
documentary.
realistic effect,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's kind of like you're watching a documentary and something goes wrong. Like, why is this happening?
Exactly.
You
And
know?
it just happened so sudden. And the actor who Gunnar what's his name, I forgot the
Uh,
name of the Gunnar Hansen. That's right,
Heinz.
Gunnar Hansen. He's a big guy, but you look at him and he's so fit because the running and everything he had to do in the movie is just amazing. Yeah, so that first kill, that's what kind of get you go, oh my god, that is crazy, and
Yeah,
there is more to come. Yeah,
e- exactly, exactly. And you know, it from then on, it just becomes this. You go for you have that build up, slow, and then it's all go from then on. Like,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not let off the hook. You go from one awful thing to another. Like, from one,
yeah,
this, they're all dying until the one woman is left, and she's goes through fucking hell, um,
yeah,
and it's all the way through, you know,
yeah.
from then on.
Look, the I think what as you mentioned before, the plot is very simple, right? And that movie could have turned out to be so shit because with a simplistic plot, and I'm sure even in the mid 70s, things like that's been done to death. I mean, look what the Italians been doing with giallos, right? It's slashes, right? So there's a lot of them out there, and I love giallo movies, right? But we needed something fresh, and that was a breath of fresh air. That movie, I
Okay,
reckon. And
sorry, hold that thought, buddy. So, because I would like,
Mhm.
after we talked about the film, to go back into the this and mention, because I wanted to mention that, and talk when we are talking about the impact the film had, and so
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, hold
yeah.
that thought for sure.
We'll
I
hold
wanted to
that to the end.
um,
Yeah,
I wanted to add, based on the plot, because I like to break films in my head, in terms of structure, screenwriting structure. So I
yeah,
was like trying to think about what is the inciting incident, in this film. In the thing that kicks everything off, right? In every film, there's an inciting incident. It kicks the story into what's going to happen,
mhm,
this one doesn't have like a clear cut one. I have to say, like, if you had to choose one, I would say that it was probably when they pick up the hitchhiker, who turns out to be the brother of Leatherface, and I think it's more of a symbolic, inciting incident, because then he marks the van with his blood, so it's kind of like they're marked for death now. Um, and I think, yeah, so yeah, it's not 100% an inciting. It's more like a symbolic inciting incident, if that makes sense. And that's I found that interesting as well. And I say it's a
spot on, spot on.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I say it's a
I
symbolic one because, in a way, they could have just continued, after that. They could have just continued on their way and never gone to the house.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly. It's spot on. And I was going to mention the hitchhiker because we can obviously talk about Leatherface as he's kind of the main star of the movie, and kind of I mean the plot is sort of is around the group of people in the van and Leatherface, right? But I think, to me, the most symbolic characters, if we put Leatherface aside, was the hitchhiker, and the second one was the father. Uh, to cover off the hitchhiker first, I mean, when I was first watching the movie, and as soon as they pick up that hitchhiker, I I don't know, for some reason I had like my I was petrified when I saw the hitchhiker. I mean, this deranged dude, right? You're picking him up. He's sitting in your van, and then suddenly he pulls out a the flicker knife,
Yeah.
and you go, "Oh my god! Like, what the hell? What did you guys just pick up now? You know?" And it's just for me, it was that atmosphere, right? Like all the people that you look at it, like at the petrol station, and well, the father was there at that petrol station where they stop off, right? But you look at their faces; they're all like sort of inbred, deranged people, and you go, "Oh my freaking god!" Like all of them are just look crazy, right?
Yes.
And all of them, like any any one of them could, could take you at the back and kill you.
Yeah, the casting was
It
very
it,
spot
it,
on.
it was
Very,
just the atmosphere, right? And
yeah,
I think, like for me, not only the hitchhiker, but the father, he was to me, he was like the craziest of them all, right? Like
yeah,
he had
because
that smirk on his face, which it's like, he looked like a total freaking serial killer that could snap any moment and just go psycho.
yeah, but I think, yeah, 100%, man, and I think it happens. This happens. You feel this way because when you first introduced to him, he's acting like a normal guy. He's acting like a normal
He
person.
is, yeah.
Yeah,
But
right.
then you
So
look at his eyes and you can see, even when he's acting like a normal person, you look
yes,
at his eyes and you can see something's not right there. Like
which is
he's
that
not all there.
he's got the mask of he's the psychopath with the mask on, pretending to be a normal person
Exactly. Yeah,
to find his
yeah,
victims. And that makes it even worse. That makes it because you see Leatherface and it's really scary, but immediately you know what
yeah,
you're dealing with. It's and the Hitchhiker,
yeah.
you kind of like it's this disgust that's coming out of him, like and this thing, and then he's got the knife and he cuts himself, and it's like, what the fuck
Yeah,
is this? This is terrible. But the father is like,
yeah,
the father is pretending to be normal. The father's pretending to
yeah.
cook all this meat, but he's giving you human meat to eat, which is
Exactly.
yeah, and obviously,
Yeah, it's just the look of the character, and like speaking of the characters, because I think I mentioned to you before that I watched the actual documentary
Mhm.
after the movie, the making of it and stuff like that, and they interviewed some of the and I don't know when the interviews were actually done, but it looked like they might have been done maybe 10, 15 years ago.
Right,
Um,
right,
so, but well after the movie was made, at least what 30 years after the movie was made, maybe even more, right? So
yeah,
the characters that played the father, the hitchhiker, they were, you know, they were still young in the movie. They're obviously a lot older now. So
sure,
they interviewed, I forgot the actor's name, but they interviewed the character that played the father, and
yeah.
he's much older. He's wearing glasses,
Well,
this old man sitting there talking. And listen, I
mhm.
was looking into his eyes and I'm going, man, even if this person, right, outside the movie came to my house, I'd be scared shitless
They'll be
just
like,
by looking into his eyes.
get the fuck out.
Yeah,
Don't
exactly. Exactly. I wouldn't trust him.
yeah.
There's something about his eyes I wouldn't trust him, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, especially that scene. Remember when he was trying to get
Oh,
the main character, the girl, and he
yeah.
was hitting her with a stick, and
Oh,
he was kind of feeling sorry one time, and then he was like laughing and enjoying himself. Like he would switch, like switch really, really quick. Something
yeah.
in his
Yeah.
brain would switch. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And that's, to me, that was yeah, it was just amazing acting. And considering, with low budget, and I don't know if you knew this, but they had only 16 days of shooting
Was it
for
16
this
days?
movie. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
not
yeah. It
much
makes
time,
sense. It
not
makes
much
sense
time at
because
all.
time is money, especially in filmmaking. So it would make sense that it would be done as quickly as possible on a budget, like pretty much
Mm,
peanuts, especially at the time. That's peanuts, man. They made it for so little, but it goes to show if you cast well, if you know the acting is on point. If this sound designer, I think we should come to the sound next. If the sound is
yep.
there, and sound and set design, we need to talk about.
Hmm.
You do the best that you can of your surroundings. You can make a film that man makes history, and it's talked about for long time, So it goes to show
Definitely.
you don't need a huge budget. You just need passion and you need a clear vision.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and with that, I think we should go into props. Um,
Yeah.
when you have such little budget, I think they did a tremendous job with the props. Like when the woman, she goes after the first guy that gets killed. I think maybe it was her boyfriend, and she's looking for
Hmm.
him, and she goes in the house, and I'm like, the living room, like you've got furniture made out of human remains, and all
Yeah.
this just simple stuff, but it's so effective, and like it stayed with
Yeah.
me to this day. I'm like, the fucking chicken in the hanging chicken in a cage. It's so
Yeah.
simple, but for me, it was just so disturbing. I'm like,
Yeah.
why the
Oh,
fuck is
dude.
there
Yeah.
a chicken there? Like
The
somebody go and free the damn chicken from the cage.
I
Like
know, I know.
it
And
was
then
so
there's
weird.
lamps made out of human skin, and
Yeah,
yeah, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, the chair, remember it had human arms
oh,
attached
that's
to it?
right.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
the
yeah,
human arms. Yes,
yeah.
like
Uh,
bones on the floor everywhere. Just it looks so dirty as well, and it just
yeah.
man, it was like all right, this is hell. Like I'm like, get the fuck out because that's hell. Don't stay in there. Just don't go. Just run like
Yeah,
now.
just fucking
I was
run.
like,
But then
just run.
imagine, do you ever imagine yourself, like, when you watch a movie like that, if I was in that position, what would I do? I'd probably freaking just stay in the van, lock the doors, wouldn't even go out. Imagine,
Well,
in the
I'm not.
70s, in the middle of Texas, in the middle of nowhere, right?
I'll tell you what. If I'm ever
Like
in the middle of
a
nowhere,
small country town.
I'm not gonna go looking for things. I'm just gonna stay in one place and that's it.
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
going
there's a house. Let's go in.
like no. I'm
Yeah.
not going anywhere
Yeah.
near any houses. I don't care. I'm just not doing it. you know. I don't care
Yeah,
what's there.
and just the whole, exactly, just that whole atmosphere just makes you, it freaks you out. Yeah,
So yeah, they did a brilliant job with what they had. They brilliant job. I don't know how much all the stuff. It's very costs very little, and it works so well.
yeah,
You know, and then the other great thing about it was the sound design. It has very little music, and it has just
and it's got that screechy sound.
yes because
Yeah,
and I was like this watching it, and
yeah,
a big part of that was the fucking sound design the sound
yeah,
you hear all the way through, especially, and they become worse the more it goes towards the end. The just sounds are so harsh, and I was like, when it was over, I was like, oh, Jesus, it's not meant to give you, it's not meant to sit there and have a good time. Like, you have a different sort of good time, if you know what I mean. Like
yeah,
in terms of being like um, a release of feeling horror, but feeling safe. That thing that horror
yeah,
films do. Like you can, it's like a roller coaster. You get scared, but you're safe. Well, with roller coasters,
yeah,
maybe not all the time, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. No, no. Well, I know what you mean, of course.
yeah. So and then it's like it's just all these harsh sounds specifically
Yeah,
made to make you feel uncomfortable, to make you feel on edge, to go together with what's happening on the screen. And it was a great choice. And again, like stuff that could be done on a very small budget, you know.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Mm.
I,
Yeah,
I,
no,
I
good point there. And yeah, I
go.
was going to say, talking about small budgets, that they didn't have sort of enough money to even get new clothes. So the actors, Gunnar Hansen, was wearing the same outfit through the whole shoot, and during the interview they were saying, they go like, we stunk like shit because we were all wearing the same clothes. We didn't have a change of clothes, and it was
Oh,
really hot, and
uh,
especially in the house. They were saying it was so hot inside the house, and Gunnar Hansen, because he was wearing, the suit, the apron, the mask, he said he was profoundly sweating and stunk like shit through the whole shoot. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
that's, yeah,
Yeah, it sounds like uh, one of those shoots that the people just suffer to make, you know. Um, those
movie, yeah.
in the movie, yeah, like because I read on IMDb that do you remember the main woman? Let me just get her name because Marilyn
Mm.
Burns. She's the one that survives
Yes,
Sally, right? She's the
yeah.
one that survives in the end.
Marilyn,
Yeah,
that's right,
I
yeah.
read that you know when he's chasing her through the night, through the bushes and the forest, and he's like with
At
the
the
chase.
end, yep, yep,
Yeah,
yep.
she got like real cuts from the bushes and stuff. When
Oh,
she was
right.
making
Yeah, okay.
her way
Mhm.
through, yeah, she got all scratched up. It must have been really hot. The stank. It was what? Yeah, it must have been one of those shoots where you like, it's you endure it, man. You endure it to make it
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, you enjoy it. Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of, and I didn't. I don't think they used stunt people at all for that movie, because Marilyn, she was saying in the interview, she had to jump out of that window,
Was that
and
her?
she was doing the same.
She
That
was
was
jumping
her,
out.
and she actually, well, she hurt her ankle, right? She
Wow,
hurt her ankle.
wow.
And then she was saying, when she was running, when he was chasing her, that was, she was limping for real because she hurt her ankle.
No
So,
way.
yeah,
And she didn't do it just
yeah,
once. Like she jumped at least twice out of the window into the
right.
different
Yeah, yeah,
situations. You know, like
yeah, yeah.
wow.
The interesting bit, we did discuss the characters, but we didn't sort of talk about the grandfather.
Yeah. Yes,
He
of
was an
course,
interesting character.
of course.
I think
Oh God.
he's more developed in the second part, right?
Uh,
But in the first one, it's really interesting because you pretty much think like the dude's a corpse, right? But then suddenly he drinks a bit of her blood.
oh.
He's like a vampire, and he's like, "Yay!"
How disturbing is that sequence,
What-
man? How fucking like I
What's it?
think it's one of the. How disturbing was that sequence in the end?
Oh, dude! Like when he
It's
was he
yeah,
let Grandpa
all of
kill
it,
her.
all of it.
Yeah,
It was just one
yeah,
of the most
yeah,
disturbing things I've ever
yeah,
seen. Like, and
yeah,
the sounds as well, and then you had
yeah,
that like the all this clever editing and extreme
yeah,
close-ups, which
yeah,
gave you a sense of like you can feel what the woman, like she's going to go insane. Like this is
yeah,
such an insane
yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah. The look on her face,
Yeah,
she
like
was, yeah,
anybody, I
yeah,
was like, please,
yeah,
insanity, take me now because I
yeah,
don't want to be here
yeah,
anymore. Like,
yeah, yeah. And they're all sitting there and laughing at the
yeah,
table.
and
And remember, and I was telling you, the father, he's kind of looking around, and then he starts laughing, and his eyes, change, and it's like the switch, and then they're all sitting there and laughing because they enjoy killing people and all that. Yeah,
And
they totally deranged.
it
Yeah,
builds up to the point where they're holding her down for the grandpa to fucking get a kill because like give the old man, he's
like
still
grandma.
got some. Let him have some fun, why not?
Yeah,
Let the poor guy have some fun. He's still
that's
got
it.
it. What's going
That's
on with my
it.
camera? Yeah,
Yeah,
so it was so disturbing, man. And
yeah,
luckily, she jumps out the window, and you know, um, it brings us to the point maybe where she becomes the original final girl, as the term
mm,
exists. And
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
yeah, I
And
suppose.
look, I really like. I mean, the ending I thought was good. And with movies like that, you obviously do one and you go, well, that's it, And I thought I've seen the second one, and I don't want to discuss the second one sort of on this episode, but I thought the second one was still pretty good.
Oh, really?
However, yeah, and it's something we might discuss, next time. But look,
I don't want to watch the second one
obviously,
because
obviously,
no, I
yeah,
was.
when you
I'm a
do more,
purist.
if
I
yeah, no,
feel.
no, definitely. Listen, the first one, and look, they could have done it. They could have ended there, and that's it, right? But then you rehash the same formula three, four, and so on.
But how?
It's just it doesn't work for me, right?
No, and for
You
me it
just
doesn't work. I always go into the story, and I get a
yeah.
bit uptight or whatever, But like
Well,
I always,
well, now you know what's going to happen,
no,
right?
no,
You know who the characters are.
but that's
Before
my
that,
point.
you didn't know who Leatherface was.
Yeah, but no,
Um,
no.
you didn't know what to expect. Yeah.
Let me explain myself. What I mean is like when the film ended, my storytelling, I'm like, okay, it ended because, like, for me, it's like, how can they not go to prison now? Like, obviously, the woman's gonna go to the hospital. They're gonna call the police. They're gonna go and arrest everything. They're gonna find like a million bodies. End of story.
Yeah,
They're all gonna go to prison. So how can you make a sequel? Like, I just look
that's
at it
right.
that way. You
That's
know
right.
what I mean? So,
Yeah,
I feel this film said everything it needed to say. It doesn't need to continue. It said everything in the best possible
that's it.
way. Done.
And it
Let's
ended in the best
Yeah.
possible
Let's
way.
let's do
Yep.
something else. You
Yep.
know what I mean? Um,
So
and
the intro. Yeah, sorry, go on.
no, I wanted to then maybe go towards the impact it made. And I wanted to ask you if I wanted to say that 1974 ended up being a major year for horror, major year, because not only was this film released then, what other film that was very influential horror film was released in 1974? Do you know?
Um, I don't think it was Halloween because Halloween was
No, Halloween
77 or 78.
78. Halloween is 78, but it was something
78.
that
Yeah.
influenced Halloween, and it's a film that I mentioned to you once a few years ago. If you had watched it, should I say it?
Yeah, go
Yeah,
for it. Yeah, I
it's
don't know. Yeah.
Black Christmas came out in 1974, uh,
Ah,
and
Black Christmas. Okay. Yeah.
that was very influential as well. In my view, it influenced Halloween that came out 4 years
Hmm.
later. And
Yep.
yeah, I didn't know both films came out the same year, so
That's very interesting.
that
Yeah.
was very
Yeah.
interesting. I think in the overall zeitgeist of the world, it sort of gave rise to the films that came out in late 70s and throughout the 80s. The big boom of in the slasher genre and the horror genre that followed. It was probably those two films gave the way. Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Black Christmas, and I think we should do a Black Christmas podcast one day.
We'll do it one
I
day.
think
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's another good one. And but I also wanted to ask you if they were the first ones in North America, but you mentioned already the Giallo. I hope I'm saying it correctly. I'm probably not, so I
Giallos.
apologize for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
they were before them, but I don't. From the small research I did, I don't think it directly influenced Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh no, no, no! It did not. No, what I
Yeah,
referenced before was giallo is pretty much slashes, right? I'm not
yeah,
saying that Texas Chainsaw uh, they influenced, and they might be, they might have. You never know. But yeah, it's just Italians been doing that since the God knows 50s, 60s, so slasher movies, right? Yeah.
no, well, it's more of a. They had the early Gothic horror in the early '60s,
Yep.
late '50s, early
Yep.
'60s was the early Gothic horror, which
Yep.
wasn't so much as a slasher so much, and then it gave rise
Yep.
into the late '60s, early '70s with films
Yep.
like Blood and Black Lace, and
Hmm.
The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, A Bay of Blood,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
stuff like that, And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. And
even though,
what we discussed before, Suspiria and all that kind of
well, of
stuff,
course, of
Dario
course.
Argento, and
I
yeah, yeah,
feel those films had played. They came before, Texas Chainsaw, and I think they played a part in the overall zeitgeist of the pop culture. And I think, but I think um, probably films like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, on a broader scale, brought an even bigger change. You know, and you know whoever's listening to us, if they want to comment on this, or if they have something, if they don't feel the same, or if they have something to add, it's like it'll be very interesting to
yeah,
to
for
read,
sure.
because
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on anything. Just these are just two dudes saying their opinion on things, and
That's
it's all
right.
good.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And from what I saw, like what the director Hooper said influenced directly the Texas was the crimes of Ed Gein, the serial killer.
That's right.
The fairy tale
So
Hansel.
when they say it was based on real events, that's what they talk about is Ed Gein. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, not actual real events, just more of a on those
Yeah.
murders, sort of. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's what the
yeah,
movie was based on is the murders. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah. So yeah,
it was a
the
trip.
the dude was the dude was completely out of his mind. I mean,
Well,
he was digging up dead corpses and placing them in his house, and then he was killing people and making things like house furniture out of human bodies, skins, and all that. So that's what
like
he was doing.
like that's
Yeah.
misplaced creativity. Like instead of being creative in a more positive manner, it was just gone
Yeah,
really dark, and use this creativity
exactly.
for evil. Unfortunately.
Yeah, which is and yeah, it's just amazing, that yeah, it's that's why you look at areas like this small country towns, and especially and I always bring it up like the 70s, the 80s. Why? Because you have no internet, right? You get stuck, that's it. Who are you going to call? You have no phone, you have no pay phones nearby, you have no internet, you have no mobile phones. That's
you,
what makes it so
you,
freaking scary.
you couldn't even call the Ghostbusters if you wanted to.
Well,
You're
you
stuck.
see what the guys were doing. The sun was setting, like in the movie, right? Oh,
Yeah,
where did they go? You can't call them, right? So you got to go out, and it's dark, looking for them. So
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
crazy bit about it. That's why I always say with stuff like, say, for example, things like the scary, like Stephen King stuff, right? Say, for example, The Stand or the movie It. If you had internet or mobile phones, um, back in those days when the stories were written or the movies were made, it wouldn't work, right? You can't
Mm-mm.
have a horror movie with today's technology because some shit happens, some crazy clown gets in your way. You freaking call you pick up a mobile phone, you call someone straight away, right?
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean,
but
yeah, it's there's more stuff that gets in the way of the plot for
yeah.
sure. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can find
But
ways
I
around it,
guess
of
what I'm
course.
trying to say is I love that period is because you don't have that technology,
Well, it's
right?
simpler. It's
So if
simpler.
you're stuck in the middle of some place, you've got no gas, you don't have a payphone. Well, guess what? You got to go to the freaking nearest haunted house and see if anybody will open the door for you so you can use their phone, right? And you don't
And
know what these people are about.
you pray that they're not cannibals or they're not
Yeah, exactly,
Satanists.
exactly. Yeah,
Or
yeah.
I don't know what. They're not possessed, and they're not. It's not the cabin from the Evil Dead, you know. And
That,
you
that's what makes it so scary, right? Yeah,
no, there's so many possibilities that you don't know what you're gonna get. It's just
exactly,
stay in the
exactly.
car and just sleep it off, you know, in the car and hope for the best, you know. That's
Yeah, yeah,
so yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, look,
yeah. I was gonna
no, I was
say.
going to say,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, you
Go on.
go
Go
ahead.
on. I insist. You go.
Yeah.
I'll
No,
just
I
wet
was going to
myself.
say, look,
Let me cool off a bit.
I'm
Yeah.
glad that, yeah, I know it's really hot out your way.
Oh, that's better.
I was going to say, I'm glad that we both really enjoyed the movie, and I wasn't sure about your reaction because I know we've spoken multiple times since you've seen the movie, and you had a good poker face. You didn't give anything away, and I know I didn't ask you much because I wanted to save it for this podcast,
Me
right?
too. Me too. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah, but you did put on a poker face because I think I asked you sort of, uh, what do you watched it? You go, yeah, I watched it. You kind of went like this, it wasn't like, oh, I watched it, like, but yeah, I watched it. So I thought, oh, maybe it's going to be 50-50,
Oh, really? Yeah. Shit. Honestly,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't. It came out by accident like that because I didn't
yeah,
think about it. Like in my
right,
mind, I was just, I'm not gonna say anything because I'll save it for the.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely.
I actually
Yeah.
thought you knew that I liked it. So in my mind, I thought you knew I liked it. So
Ah,
that
okay,
was
good.
okay. Yeah.
Before we wrap it up, was there anything else you wanted to add, or there might be something we haven't covered yet?
No, bits and pieces. It was the film was written by Kim Henkel and Tobe Hooper. Um,
Yep.
Tobe Hooper went on to obviously do Poltergeist in '82, which I quite enjoy as a horror film.
Yeah,
There,
definitely.
there was the whole. Let me ask you: have you've seen it, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Of course. Dude, come on now, come on.
Come on. Come on,
What are you
dude.
taking me for?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, exactly.
yeah. So yeah, the big question that everybody always goes on about. So I guess we could ask it here is, do you feel that he was the director, or if Steven Spielberg was who was the producer on it, was the director of the film? Because there's a lot of different opinions out there. A lot of people claim it was Spielberg because it has that Spielberg kind of vibe to it.
Kind of vibe to it. Yeah, yeah.
So what's your opinion on it? And then I'll say my opinion on it as well.
I, I don't know about it, but if I had to sort of guess, I would say that Spielberg would have been the director.
Okay, so you're leaning more towards it being, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the way from everything I read, Um, and from my experiences on set and stuff, and from seeing now, especially seeing because I also watched Light
Yep.
Force, so that's the other film of Tobes that I've seen.
Yeah, life. Yep.
I would go towards the opinion that it, look, at the end of the day, he's the director. Now, maybe was Spielberg leaned into more of the director's job creatively, because producer can be quite a hands-on guy, and the producer picks up the Oscar for best film. It's the producer's film. So
Yep.
being a producer is like, if a director is the captain of of a boat, the the producer is the admiral.
Of course. Yeah.
So I'm kind of the opinion that it was mostly told with a little bit of Spielberg. So, but I wouldn't
Okay.
ever say that it was just Spielberg. I really don't. I think that's a little, maybe even disrespectful to say, and I just don't see it. Again, it's just my opinion. I wasn't there. I wasn't on set to
Yeah.
have a, But I think, and there's some stuff in there that I think are more his wheelhouse, like when the guy tears his face off, when he's
Yeah.
having that
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
vision, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and
That's more Spielberg.
no, that's more Tobe. That wouldn't be,
Oh, okay. More. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Because
you know.
tearing off.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Right. Yeah.
there's the film has a sort of a Spielberg vibe to it, but that's,
Feel good.
if
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
the producer, it would have it anyway because he's the producer. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Yeah. 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 I wonder what the sort of ratio was, but I guess we'll never know.
No, it's one of the things we'll never know for sure. We could just have fun, analyzing it if we want.
Yeah,
There's
analyzing it. Yeah,
there's no
yeah,
right
yeah,
or wrong. It's
yeah.
just, yeah, just
More, more of the sort of horror elements, like you said, tearing off the face. You can sort of know, okay, well, that would have probably wouldn't have been Spielberg, as you mentioned. So yeah,
yeah, or like more of a choice, creative choice that tends to be more would have been more of a Tobe input.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm saying. And yeah, and then he did a lot of TV. I mean, he never had, I think, after Poltergeist. Life Force is very interesting and a lot of fun as a film, in my opinion.
I still gotta watch that. I mean, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it, but I haven't watched it.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a must. It's a must. It's a very interesting film. A lot of fun, and yeah, and then he did a lot of TV. He did a single directing jobs on a lot of TV shows like Amazing Stories and Tales from the Crypt,
Yeah,
and Prey and the others. And yeah, I, I
mm,
think that was interesting to mention. And I think that's about it. I think we
yeah.
sort of covered
Yeah,
what
I've
we.
just got some interesting facts here about the movie, which
Nice.
I'll
Okay.
quickly read
Yeah.
it
Go.
out.
Go for it.
There's a few here. Well, you know, um, so I'll start with the first one. So, obviously, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was released in 1974, directed by Toby Hooper. This horror classic has become a cult sensation over the years. Of course, it has. So we already covered that the movie was inspired by real life events. We discussed Ed Gein and the murders, the inspiration for the movie. Oh, by the way, there is actually a movie out there that's called Ed Gein,
All right.
and I've seen it before a while back. A movie, not a documentary, but a movie based on his life story. Basically, it's quite interesting.
Can I
Yeah,
add something there as well that I read?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
the Tobe also mentioned that influence was when he was in a shopping season in a shopping mall. in a hardware store, maybe in a shopping mall. I'm
Yeah.
not sure. And it was holiday season, and he felt suffocated, and people were running up and down, and that sort of gave him the inspiration for it as well. And also
Yeah.
the
Right.
tell Hansel and Gretel, the little kids that go off into the woods and they find a house made of candy and the witch is inside.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was a
Yeah. Yeah.
that
That's
was a,
very smart, actually. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
also the color palette was apparently influenced by uh, a painting called Christina's World by Andrew uh, Wyeth. I'm probably saying the name wrong, but yeah, that was the artist. So that was an influence
Hmm.
as well. And please
Hmm.
continue now with what you were saying.
Yeah. That's very interesting, actually. Yeah. And yeah, so the movie had a low budget of only 148,000. Despite its limited financial resources, the film gained immense success and paved the way for future slasher movies. The movie faced several challenges with censorship. Due to its graphic violence, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was heavily censored in many countries. So, I, I mean, what I have and I believe what you've seen is the definite uncut version. Um, so, and as I mentioned before, the movie was shot in just 16 days. Toby Hooper had to work quickly and efficiently to complete the film on such tight schedule. The iconic Leatherface character was played by Gunnar Hansen. His portrayal of the chainsaw wielding killer had become one of the most recognized horror villains of all time, which is definitely true. Um, so yeah, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre has spawned multiple sequels and remakes due to its success. And actually, this was actually quite surprising to me, but I guess it is true. The film was one of the first to use the found footage technique.
All right.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
how at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
With the tombstone, the grave that was
yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, by presenting the story, if it was a real footage,
Yeah.
basically, the movie adds its chilling, horrifying
Of
atmosphere,
course.
right?
Of course. Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, the movie's budget was so tight that the cast had to wear the same clothes throughout the entire shoot. This was done to save money and maintain continuity. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was a box hit and it grossed over a million worldwide with a small budget of 140,000. So yeah, and it was shot on location in Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Interesting. Good stuff, man.
yeah, and I'm just trying to find something that we haven't sort of covered before. Um,
Well, I mean, I think that's enough. That
yeah,
should yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think that's because yeah. I mean, there's so much stuff out there that people can sort of go and read it.
definitely.
There's essays, man, on influence, cultural influence and what it really means about the dehumanization of people in society and the Vietnam War, and there's all sorts of essays you can find out there about all those issues. If you look, which is interesting as well.
Yeah, yeah, no,
If anybody,
definitely. And
yeah,
and for Gunnar Hansen, been such an iconic character in that movie, and he hasn't. I don't think he's done much sort of since then, but he's still a well-respected
hmm
actor, and
yeah,
because of his portrayal in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's well loved in the horror community.
yeah,
He
yeah,
recently
yeah.
passed away,
Oh,
um,
oh, wow.
probably a
Oh,
few years back. Yeah, yeah. And there was
oh,
a documentary made about him, and you know. people hold them in great regard in the horror community, no doubt. So
Oh,
yeah,
of course, man. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You would.
yeah, yeah. Now, look, that's a good discussion. I think that
Yeah,
we'll end it
I
there
love
for our
it.
first episode,
Yeah, man.
and we'll be back again with the next one. We won't say what it is yet, but we'll keep it as a surprise.
We've got
And
some ideas, and then we'll finalize
yeah,
on it. And yeah, we make one for July, if you're up for that. To make one in
yeah,
July,
yeah,
and
definitely. Yeah,
um,
yeah,
if whoever is listening to this, whoever made it to the end, thank you so much, and please feel free to give us your views and opinions and anything we missed underneath in the comment section.
yeah.
And see you all next
Yeah,
time.
or anything that we might have got it wrong, welcome
As
to
well,
correct us. And
absolutely.
yeah,
And any names that didn't come out right,
yeah,
apologies. And, that's gonna be part of it. And
yeah.
hope you
We,
enjoyed
we,
it.
we just two dudes that are having fun and
To Malakis,
enjoy discussing movies and
exactly.
stuff like that. Yeah, to Malakas,
To Malakis having
yeah.
a chat.
Maybe we should change the show to the two Malakas.
Yeah, it'll be the pulpy hideout of the Malakas, of the two Malakas.
Malakas. Listen, John, thank you very much for your time. It was a
Well, thank
lot
you,
of
man.
fun.
Yeah, it was so much fun, so much fun. Look forward to the next one, and yeah,
We'll catch up soon, huh?
we'll catch up, and let's do the next the right steps so we can upload this. So I'll let you hang
Definitely.
up first, man, and then we'll stay in touch
Yep.
to make sure that it's all good.
Yep. Yep.
So
Bye bye.
adios, bye bye,
Thank
bye
you.
bye. Thank you.
Bye.